Gandang umaga sa inyo. Live na naman tayo. Okay, kaya lang 6 lang kayo. Tapos mag-isa lang ako. Nakakainis naman, no? Nadinig nyo? May monitor ako dito sa gilid. Baka magkamali na naman ako ng yung ating mga slides. Slide sharing. Alright, live tayo. Ano ba yung topic natin ngayon? Contradictions at saka Aristotelian Logic. Pero saka na muna yan. Responsibility muna natin sa bayan. Di ba, Miss Carullo? Oo, Miss Carullo, habang hinahanap ko to, matanong ko, yung mga Carullo, taga taga Lake Buhi, or somewhere doon, Siya yung si Simo Carullo, idol na idol ko yun eh. Okay, ito yung inyong attendance. Okay. Yan, nakita nyo? Nandiyan ba? O yan Ay, hindi ko na-share. Pero kita nyo naman doon sa Google Classroom, di ba? Hindi ko na-share. O yan, na-share ko na. Yan. Okay. Ito yan ating attendance form. We are live today, so you need to fill out this form during the class hours. All right? Yan, bahala kayo sa buhay nyo. All right, ano pa? Mentimeter. Oh, may mentimeter tayo, di ba? Pinost ko na. Yan nandyan. Sinagutan nyo na ba? Hindi nyo pa nasasagutan kasi hindi ko pa na-present. Sorry. Ayan, sagutan nyo na. Habang nihintay natin yung mga kaklase nyo. Pwede nyo ba sagutan? Nihintay natin eh. Konti lang kayo eh. Habang hinihintay natin, sagutan nyo. Ayan. Wala. Mali ba yung binigay kong link? Palagay ko tama eh. Teka, check natin yung mga chat natin. Alright, gandang umaga po. Check ninyo nga ang ating mentimeter. Okay, may sumugot na ba? Tingnan natin. Ano ba? Wala pa rin. Mali ba yung link ko? Hindi ko yung link eh. Ay, hindi pala hindi siya Okay, check natin Alam ko binigay ko yung link eh. Dito natin Nasaan na tayo? Classroom. Okay, mentimeter. Bale. Saan yung mentimeter natin? Well, anyway. Bigyan mo lang sa inyo yung link. Yan. Nandyan pala eh. Binigay ko nga sa inyo lahat eh. Okay. Dali siguraduhin nga nating makapasok kayo lahat. Okay. Copy link. Sandali lang po. Ito uli yung mentimeter natin Okay. Sige nga. Yan. May mga sumasagot na Tatlo pa lang. Dini. Dalawa. Okay, dini. Words that indicate how I am aware of the role of my life. Anyways, sagutan nyo ha. Nandiyan naman yan eh. Tingnan natin mamaya ha. Uy, numbers are real. Uy, nag-aaway yata kayo eh. Suntukan na kayo. Kanina, equal, yes and no. Alright. Okay. 16 pa lang. Nasaan na yung iba? Dito muna ako. Hintay ako dyan sa sagot ninyo eh. Well, actually, ganito yan ha. May kinalaman yan doon sa mga pag-uusapan natin na now and much later, all the way to the last day of classes. Yung mga tanong na yan. Hanggang sa last day of classes, kasama yan. Alright? Okay, balik tayo dyan sa sharing ninyo ha. Sige nga. Uy, dumami na yung sumagot. Lumamang na yung yes, numbers are real. Totoo ba yan? Numbers represent some measurement or magnitude. Totoo ba yan? Sigurado kayo ha? Uy, ang daming sagot dun sa words that indicate how I am aware of the role of in my life of contradictions. Bakit walang consensus? Tingnan nyo yung yung 3 words that indicate how I am aware of the role in my life of contradictions. Wala kayong consensus. Hindi kayo nagkakasundo. Filipinos are aware of the role. No. Tama. Tama yan. Baka pag tinanong yung mga Pilipino, ano ba yung contradiction? Ang sasagot sa inyo, yan yung palaman sa tinapay. Alright. Okay. Yes, no, no answer. Very good ha, Mr. No answer or Miss No answer ha. Okay lang yan. Eh kung ako, tinanong mo nung first year college ako, naku, naloko na. Bobulahin lang kita kasi hindi ko naman alam yung sagot. Alright, mas lamang yung no. O sige. Hindi nga, balikan natin. Uy, meron ng consensus. May kinalaman daw sa understanding and reasoning. O kahit paano, may consensus kayo, di ba? Ayan, numbers represent measurement or magnitude. Ayan, uy. Meron pa rin tayo nung okay. Sige, balik na tayo sa klase. Sagutan niyan ha. Bahala kayo sa buhay nyo ha. Pabalikan natin yung mamaya. Okay. Okay. Tanong. Anong klaseng measurement yung 22/7? Alright? Pag sinabi yung measurement, sukatan. Alright? Halimbawa, susukatin natin, gaano katangkad si Mahal, yung artista. Ay di ang sagot ay 3 dangkal. Kahit paano nasagot. 22/7. Natatandaan yan, 3.14. Alright. Nahilo na, naliyo na yung supercomputer, hindi pa nasasagot hanggang ngayon. What kind of magnitude yan? Alright? Yan, tanong ko yan ha. Alam nyo naman yung di ba, yung 22/7. Anong klaseng sukat? Anong klaseng panukat? Or sukat? Yung hindi ganito, pero hindi ganyan. Pero medyo ganito, pero medyo ganyan. Pero hindi ko talaga alam kung ano yung eksakto yan. Anong klaseng sukat yun? Paano magagamit na sukat yung approximation? Okay, sige. Paano paano Miss Martinez, paano aring approximation ha? Bigyan kita ng approximation square root of -1. Square root of -1. Paano magnitude yan? Miss Martinez, paano sukat yan? mapapansin ninyo, yung, ano nga ba to? Yung sabi nga ni Miss Martinez, approximation. Anong tawag dyan sa mga ganyang approximation? Anong tawag dyan sa number na yan? Ang tawag, irrational. Sa Tagalog, pag sinabi nyo irrational, ang tawag sa Tagalog niyan, hindi pa na Tagalog, Filipino. Anong Filipino sa irrational? Sira. Imaginary number, Miss Alonso, anong tawag dyan? Pag imaginary number, ang tawag dyan, haka-haka. Tanong, anong sukat, anong panukat yung sira at saka haka-haka? Alright, pag-uusapan natin yan mamaya or maybe some other time. Alright, naubos na yung oras, kada daldal ko. Kaya balik tayo sa share muna tayo ng O are, ang ating pag-uusapan ngayon Ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon, contradictions. Alright, anong pag-uusapan natin? Ito. Topic natin, contradictions. At saka ano ba naman tong contradictions at saka yung si Aristotelian Logic. Alright? Aristotelian Logic. Okay. Actually, related yung dalawa na yan, Ito yung ating topic ngayon, O, ngayon, simulan natin. Yan, dalawa. Dito muna tayo. Hindi, dito muna tayo. Natatandaan nyo, sabi ni Aristotle, pwede tayong mag-classify ng reasoning. Alright? Yan ang ating topic Pwede tayong mag-classify ng reasoning. Paano? Nag-classify tayo ng reasoning, sinabi natin dalawa. Alright? Ano yung isa? Deduction, remember? Or deductive reasoning. At saka ano yung isa? Induction. Alright? Induction. Kahirap magsulat ng mouse. Alright? So, na-classify natin sa dalawa, di ba? Tapos, hinati pa natin. Sabi natin, yung mundo ng deduction, mundo ng Mundo ng, ano bang tawag natin doon? Theoretical philosophy. Yan. Alright, yun ang sabi niya. Yung mundo na induction, ano sabi niya? Mundo ng practical philosophy alright? Practical philosophy. Alright? Natatandaan niyo, sabi natin dito sa deduction. Ano sabi natin sa deduction? Yung premises, alright? Paano ang relationship sa conclusion? Sabi natin, ang relationship is only a matter of necessity, di ba? Sabi natin, dito sa mundo na ito, matter of necessity yung relationship. Gaya noong necessary relationship between 1 plus 1 equals 2 and 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 4. Saan? Necessary relationship sa 2 plus 2 is 4. Alright? Remember that? Dito naman, ang relationship between premises and conclusion, ano yung relationship? Sabi natin, matter of probability. Natatandaan dapat yan, Sama sa examen yun Sigurado yan. Alright, a matter of probability. Yan. Very good. Okay? Now, ang gusto nating sabihin ngayon, itong contradictions ay naka-classify din. Alright? Habang ito, na-classify natin, naglagay tayo ng boundary dyan, ito, maka-classify din natin. Alright? Paano? Okay. Gawa tayo ng bagong board. Babalikan natin mamaya. Ngayon, ito yung sinasabi natin. Alright? Punta tayo dito sa contradictions. Alright? Actually, yung contradictions, alright, yung contradictions themselves, maraming klase yan eh. Alright, mamaya ko ipaliwanag. Pero yung contradictions ay ano, isa sa tatlo, mali ha. Meron tayong 3 kinds of sentences. Alright? 3 kinds of sentences. Habang na-classify natin habang na-classify natin yung reasoning sa dalawa, ang sentences pwede natin i-classify ng tatlo. Alright? Pero actually, ang reasoning pwede rin natin ang sentences pwede rin natin i-classify ng dalawa lang. So, nandito ngayon tayo. Alright? Dito ngayon tayo. Dito muna tayo. Itong sentences, pwede natin i-classify ng dalawa. And then later, makikita natin, pwede natin i-classify ng tatlo. At ito mismong contradictions, pwede rin natin niya i-classify. 1, 2, 3. Alright? Pero saan natin pag-usapan? Alright? Una muna tayo dito. Alright? Yung sentences, dalawang klase. Sabi na rin ni Aristotle. Sabi niya, merong mga sentences known to be true or false, known to be true or false by observation. Madali lang yan. Bakit? Talagang merong ganun. Alright? Halimbawa, alright? Ano yung unang klase ng sentence? Yung sentence known to be true or false by observation. Halimbawa, this sentence, alright? Halimbawa, itong sentence na ito. This table, hindi pala, huwag na yan. This board is white. Alright? Kita nyo naman, yung board natin yan, yung ating Jamboard. White yan. Alright? That sentence, how do you know it's white? How do you know it's true? Kasi nakita mo you observe. Alright? You use your senses. Tama naman. Alright? Alright? So, madali lang. Yang ganyang klaseng sentences, ang tawag natin ngayon, ang unang tumawag ng pansin dyan si Aristotle. Pero ngayon, may tawag tayo. Ang tawag natin, empirical sentences. Alright? Empirical. Yung mga nag-aral ng Philo 1, alam nyo yan. Merong mga sentences, bang klase. Bakit? They are known to be true or false in some erudite way. Alright? Known to be true or false by question mark. Paano? Alright. Halimbawa, ito. Paano nyo nalaman itong sentence na ito ay true? Alright? 1 plus 1 equals 2. Alright? Paano nyo nalaman yan? Nakakita na ba kayo? O nakatisod na ba kayo ng 1 o kaya 2 na pakalat-kalat sa karsada? O nakakita na ba kayo ng number na nagbibisikleta? Have you ever, anong gagawin nyo dyan pag nakakita kayo number? Pipisil-pisilin mo, aamoy-amoyin mo, tikman mo, ay, number 2 nga ito. Hindi naman yun nangyayari. Alright? That never happens. Alright? Known to be true or false what? Yun ang gusto nating sabihin. Known to be true or false. Alright, papaliwanag natin ha. Okay? Naro ko na. Yan. Ba naman to? Dali nga. Yan. Known to be true or false by conceptual analysis. Yan. Alright? Remember the word what? Remember the word idea. Alright? Remember the word idea. Anong sabi natin? Idea, actually, originally, ang tawag natin, meaning. Alright? Or, pag minsan naman, yung meaning, ang tawag natin, idea. Pero, pag minsan, ang tawag natin, concept. In fact, ngayon, among scholars, ang tawag natin, concept. Alright? For our purposes, ito ay synonymous tong mga to. Alright? In fact, pinag-usapan na natin last time yan. Sabi nga natin, conceptual frameworks. Remember? Conceptual framework. Now, ano ibig sabihin ng conceptual analysis? Pag meron kang sentence, kahit ano yan, pag may sentence ka, edi syempre composed of words yan. Alright? Composed of words or terms. Alright? Or terms. Pero pag meron kang term, alright, ay ibig sabihin, meron kang term, ibig sabihin, meron kang concept. Alright? So, paano mo malalaman kung true or false ito? Titingnan mo yung meaning ng concept 1. Titingnan mo yung meaning ng concept 2. And knowing your syntax, remember, knowing your syntax, alright, then you now try to understand the entire sentence. So you do not look, you do not observe, you don't do that. All right? You do not look, you do not observe anything at all. You just focus your attention on the sentence. In this case, this is the sentence. And if you understand the syntax of the sentence and you understand the nature of the concept, then you'll say, well, given my analysis, the sentence is true. Alright, halimbawa, bigyan natin ng better example. Bakit ng example tong 1 plus 1 equals 2 eh? This is the better example, alright? Halimbawa, the example na ito ngayon. If it rains, then it rains. If it rains, then it rains. Alam natin, true yan, alright? Whether you're dead or alive, you're in heaven or hell, tingnan na natin, okay, ayos pa. Whether you're dead or alive, in heaven or in hell, all right, awake or asleep, this sentence here is true. How do you know it's true? You don't have to go beyond the sentence. You just look at all the terms of the sentence, especially ito, it rains, and then looking at the terms of the sentence, if you know your syntax, then you will know whether it's true or false. All right? And that's why we call it conceptual analysis. So, isa na lang. Meron pa tayong, mas magandang example to. All right? Conceptual analysis. All right? Ito yung example natin. Triangles have 3 angles. Yan. Liwanag yan. Paano malalaman kung true or false yan? Titingnan mo yung nature ng concept ng ng triangle. Titingnan mo yung concept ng nature ng having 3 angles. Once you understand the concepts and how they relate to one another, tapos na, alam mo na, that's true. Alright, so, dalawang klase ng sentences. Merong sentences na empirical sentences. Alright, yan na yan. At ito ngayon, bigyan natin ng pangalan yan. Ang tawag dyan, analytic sentences. Alright? Ang tawag, analytic. Kasi conceptual analysis eh. Analytic sentences. Alright? Yan. So, ito ngayon yung ating dagdag na classification. We have empirical sentences and analytic sentences. Ang sinasabi ni Aristotle, yung mundo ng deduction, mundo yan ng analytic sentences. Nandito yan, alright? Ito, analytic sentences, alright? Nandito yan, sa mundo na yan, alright? Dito, alright? Yan. Yun namang mundo ng empirical sentences, nandito naman sa kabila. Alright? Empirical sentences. Alright? Dito naman siya. Ito yung domain niya. Alright? So, fit na fit, di ba? Meron tayong deduction, induction, theoretical philosophy, practical philosophy, necessity, probability, analytic sentences, empirical sentences. Yan. Alright? Now, balik tayo dun sa classification uli kanina. Sabi natin, there's another way of classifying sentences such that you can have three kinds. Alright? Ito na ngayon ating pag-usapan. Merong isa pang paraan para mag-classify ng sentence. Alright? Ano yung isa pang paraan? Ito nga. Yan. Dito. Isa, dalawa, tatlo. Alright? Merong mga sentences always true. Merong sentences always true. Alright? Maliwanag. Sabi nga natin kanina, di ba? Ano yung sabi natin kanina? So, binigay na natin kanina. Dapat pala, hindi ko na in-erase eh. Binigay natin kanina. Triangles have three angles. So, three angles. Triangles have three angles. That's always true. Alright? Maliwanag naman yan. Hindi na natin pagdidibatehan yan, ha? That's always true. No problem. Alright? There you go. Ang tawag dyan sa ganyang sentences ay tautology. Alright? And you can describe them as tautologous state sentences. Tautologous sentence. Alright? Sentences. Ano yung tautologous sentences? They're always true. Alright? Meron namang sentences na contingently true. Ayan. Bakit contingently true? Alright, contingent. Ayan, contingently true. Alright? Ano bang ibig sabihin ng contingent? Hindi ko alam eh. Bahala kayo sa buhay nyo. Magganap kayo dyan. Alright, ito yan. Pag sinerch nyo sa Google, lalabas dyan yung ito, Oxford Dictionary. Ngayon, makikita nyo anong sabi. Contingent as an adjective means subject to chance. Alright? Another way of saying it, dependent on something. Alright? Yan. Subject to chance, dependent on the situation. Alright? Halimbawa, okay, paano nangyari na this board is white? Sabi natin kanina. Well, nagkataon lang na ang ginagamit ko, whiteboard, pero pwede naman gamitin ko green board. Alright? Halimbawa, you use the sentence, this board is white, kanina, alright? Ngayon, the sentence is true. Pero sa totoo lang, kung pumasok ka dun sa Palma Hall 402, tama ba ako? Palma Hall 40, hindi pala. Tama. Pag pumasok kayo sa Palma Hall 402, doon sa 4th floor, alright? Yung classroom doon, walang whiteboard. Sa bulok naman ng UPA, panahon ngayon, blackboard pa yun nandun. Actually, hindi blackboard, green. So, if you're up there sa Palma Hall 402, you use the sentence, this board is white, yung sentence mo, hindi na true. Yung sentence mo, naging false. And so, contingently true lang siya or contingently false. Alright? Contingently true or contingently false. Alright? So, isusulat natin, contingently true or, nakakainis naman, nagkamali naman ako. Contingently true or contingently false. Okay? But for our purposes, just focus na lang natin, contingently true. Kung true siya. Kung hindi, edi obviously, hindi siya truly false. Alright? Kaya ang tawag natin dyan sa ganyang sentence ay, very obviously, ang tawag natin, contingent sentences. Alright? Contingent sentences. Alright. Yan. Ang contingent sentences, yan yung pangalawa. So, ano yung una? Ito yung una, tautologous sentences. Ano yung kalawa? Contingent sentences. Meron pang pangatlo. Yung pangatlo, ang tawag natin ay contradictions. Alright? Ito na nga yung topic natin. Alright? Ang tawag natin ay contradictions. Ano yung contradictions? Alright? True and yan false at the same time in the same breath. Medyo, ano nangyari dyan? Alright, anong tawag natin dyan? Contradictions nga, binanggit ko na nga kanina. Alright, ang tawag natin contradictions. Alright, yan yung pangatlong klase ng sentence na importante sa atin ngayon. Ngayon, ito yung situation. Alright, baka naman namimiss nyo na ako, Hindi magpakita uli ako. Alright. Hi, Miss Carullo. Tingnan ko nga yung inyong mga... Yan, analytic sentences known to be true or false by conceptual analysis. Tama. Galing ni Mr. Morales. Okay, so sir, yung second classification, analytical ang approach. Yes, analytical. Utak lang ginagamit. Hindi ka gagamit ng sense organs, Miss Bambam. Alright? Yan. Okay. Ngayon, ito. Si Saint Paul, mahilig mag-sermon. Pare Meron siyang sermon, actually, pinick up niya. Kasi si Saint Paul, nag-aral under the Romans, under a Greek system of education. He became aware of Epimenides. Well, that's my assumption. Kasi yung original niyan si Epimenides Pero, tawagin na lang natin Saint Paul's paradox. Ganito nangyari. Sabi ni Epimenides tsaka ni Saint Paul, yung mga negosyante, madaya yung mga yan Kaya mayaman. Mga sinungaling, kaya mayaman. Di ba, doon nga sa Crete at saka sa Greece at large, maraming negosyante. Ina-accuse ni Saint Paul ng yung mga yan, mayayaman kasi sinungaling. Alright, supposing you meet a Cretan. Kunyari ako, Cretan yan, mahaba buhok na Cretan. Anong sasabihin ko? Well, I am a liar. Alright? If I say that, then what I say is false because I'm a liar. Now, what have I just said? Well, I've just said I am a liar. Yes? And if I've said I am a liar and I am a liar, then I am a liar, the sentence is false. If I am a liar, the sentence is false, then I am not a liar. Yes? Yan. But if I am not a liar, then I just lied. Why? Because I said I am a liar. And because I lied, I am a liar. At pag ipagpatuloy ninyo, masira ulo ninyo. Alright, madamay kayo dun sa irrational numbers. Yan ang problema. Alright, excuse me. Okay? Yung pangatlong situation, contradiction, kasi false and true at the same time Actually, yung contradiction, sometimes, well, we call them simply contradictions. Alright? So, contradiction. Alright? Pero sometimes we call them paradoxes. Alright? Yung minsan, ang tawag natin, paradox. Pag minsan naman, ang tawag natin, hindi paradox, ang tawag natin, antimony. Alright? Antimony. Actually, pwede natin i-generalize na pare-pareho lang silang contradiction. Pero may nuances ng konti. Pero saka na natin pag-usapan So yan. Focus tayo ng attention din Napaka-importante nito. Ito, napaka-importante niyan sa buhay natin. Bakit? Paliwanag ko. Kaya nga ako nagre-lecture Sabi ni Aristotle, ganito. Ano nga ba yung ginagawa natin sa philosophy? Di we reflect, di ba? Pinag-usapan natin, reflective method. Tama. We reflect. Alright? So there is this whole world beyond us. Alright? The world of the puno, the world of the pet kalabaw. Remember? Yung pet kalabaw natin, ito, payat na siya ngayon. And yung ating bundok, yung ating, remember, yung ating rice fields, alright? Yung ating mga ibon, yes. So, lagyan pa natin ng clouds. Right? But the point is, we reflect upon what we see around us. Now, originally, what we see around us, we reflect in the form of images. But later on, what happens is, these images are represented in our minds in terms of what? In terms of sentences. Alright? Ayaw sumulat ito, nakakainis. Yan, sentences. Yan. So, what we have in our minds are sentences. Alright? Inevitably. Now, you have one sentence, today the sun has risen from the east. Another sentence, yesterday, and so many of them. And you have the sentence, whenever the sun rises, it rises from the east. And then you have the sentence, for all free falling bodies, F equals ma. Diba? Remember, pinag-usapan natin, you can have a whole bunch of sentences in terms of principles or what we call theories. Therefore, you have theoretical frameworks. Remember? And what were we saying? Because you have theoretical frameworks, they're all related to one another. Your sentences in your mind, yes? Tama. Di ba? Ito ngayon ang problema. As you relate your thoughts in the form of sentences to one another, every once in a while, you stumble upon some thought that would be in conflict, would be contradicting some other thought. All right? That's your problem. That's our problem. All right? At ang sinasabi ni Aristotle, pagdami ng contradictions, kasi nakakalito eh. Sipin mo, I am a liar and then I am not a liar. Naloko na. Pagdami ng contradictions, alright? Pwedeng isa lang pero malabo yan. Pagdami ng contradictions, ay pagbagsak naman ng ating coherence and harmony. Yan ang malupit. Pagbagsak ng coherence saka harmony, sabi nga natin, alright? Remember Pythagoras. Alright, Pythagoras, the great transgender or LGBTQ. Alright? Ngayon, gusto nating mangyari, siyempre, maibaba ito. Kung maibababa natin ang contradictions, teka, mali pala ako, no? Tama. Pagtaas ng contradictions, pagbagsak ng coherence. Kung maibaba natin yung number of contradictions, aakyat yung coherence. Now, bakit importanteng umakyat yung coherence? Kasi from experience, we know that the more coherence you get, alright, the more reliable your prediction becomes. Yun ang importante eh. Yung prediction. Pagka ikaw ay punong-puno ng kalituhan, alright, ay lagyan natin yung S. Pag ikaw punong-puno ng kalituhan, di pag-predict mo malabo. Ganun lang yun eh, di ba? Napakasimple. So gusto nating iakyat ang ating capacity to predict. So, ano sikreto? Di bawasan natin yung contradictions hanggat maaari. Kung pwede, wala nga. Yan ang plano. Alright, di ba? Parang simple ng plano, no? Bababa mo lang ang tanong ngayon ito, how do you identify the contradictions? How can anyone identify the contradictions? At kung pwede, lahat. Alright? kung malalagay natin, limbawa, lahat ng contradictions ng physics, edi magagawa nating more coherent ang physics. Pag more coherent, more reliable ang prediction ng physics. Physics lang yan. Meron pa tayong chemistry, at meron pa tayong biology, meron pa tayong psychology, may sociology, may political science, may economics. Nagka-letse-letse na. Alright, big question. How do you identify? Dapat meron kang technique. Alright, meron kang technique. Ito nga ngayon si Aristotle, sabi ni Aristotle, ng tinapay. Itong gawin natin. Remember, balik tayo din Dinivide natin. Alin? Ang reasoning sa dalawa. Deduction, induction. Now remember, reasoning is about what? It is about arguments. Remember? Ano yung tool? Ano yung tool na ginagamit for reasoning? Capitalize natin. Arguments. Alright? Yan ang tool. Alright? In other words, how do you relate your thoughts to one another? You have a tool. The relationship that you use are what you call arguments. Remember? Ano yung ginawa natin? One day, the sun has risen from the east. Another day, and so on and so forth. You remember? And then we related them to one another so that inevitably we related them, all those items, to a rule. Whenever the sun rises, it rises from the east. And so when you argue, you infer. And when you infer, you relate. That's the situation. Now, in other words, we want to use arguments to be able to what? To track down or map out, all right? We want to use arguments to track down, or how shall we say it? Map out, all right? Ano yung gusto natin? Yung arguments as tools, we want them used as what? Tracking tools. Tracking what? Tracking tools para makita natin how our thoughts relate to one another. If we can see how they relate to one another, all right? If we can see how they relate to one another, what will happen? Then we will be able to identify the contradictions. Yun. All right? Ano yung gagamitin natin? Yung arguments. All right? How do you relate your thoughts to one another? Via your arguments. And so, if you now map out all the arguments you can ever think of in your mind, then you're actually mapping out how your thoughts individually relate to one another. Then you'll see what contradicts what. And then when you see what contradicts what, anong mangyari? Ay, hindi pumunta ka sa Mount Sinai, tanungin mo yung Diyos. So, anong gagawin ko din meron akong contradictions na nakita. Alright? Biro lang. So, let me give you one example. Excuse me. Merong nagawa ng isang flask. Tinanggalan ng laman. Alright? Nilagyan ng stopper. Alright? Tapos nagsindi ng kandila. Pag sindi ng kandila, ano nangyari? Nakita niya, light can travel through a vacuum. Kasi pag tinanggalan mo ng laman, di ba, may vacuum. O, paano nangyari yung light can travel to a vacuum? Ang sabi nga ni Newton, alright, energy can only be transferred through some medium. But if there is a vacuum, there is no medium. There is only what? Nothing inside. Paano nangyari yan? Tapos hindi natapos. Gumawa ng vacuum tube. Ano yung vacuum tube? Yung vacuum tube, pinadaanan ng kuryente. Alright? May vacuum nga Paano mangyayari light can travel through, electricity can travel through a vacuum. Alright? Meron tayo ditong, ang sabi nga natin, contradiction. Bakit? Sabi natin alright, energy can only be transferred through a medium. Ito, walang medium na ta-transfer. So, parang may problema, di ba? Parang may contradiction of some kind. So, ano nangyari? Well, let's just cut the story short. Dahil doon sa contradiction na yan, yung sistema ng physics, pinag-aralan. At umabot yung sistema ng physics Alright, pinag-aralan. At nakita nga na hindi lang pala yan ang contradiction. At inevitably, in-improve ni Einstein. Alright? So, na-improve ni Einstein. Yung physics ni Newton, binasura na. Well, hindi naman binasura, pero ginawang second honors. Alright? So, ang ginawang first honor, si Einstein. Alright? Ito, second honors lang natanggap nito. Alright? So, ganyan ang nangyayari. In a manner of speaking, every time you see some contradiction, actually, you should be happy. Why? Because the contradiction that you see can actually be an indicator of your opportunity to improve things. Alright? It's an opportunity to improve things. But sabi ni Aristotle, ganyan nga yan, ang gawin natin ganito. Pag-aralan natin ang nature ng arguments, ang nature ng reasoning, and then bawasan nga natin yung mga contradiction sa ating isipan. And so, sabi ni Aristotle, sabi ni Aristotle, nasa na ba yung ating classification na ito? Sabi ni Aristotle, ito gawin nating systematic ang pag-aaral, hindi yung kwentong kutsero lang, alright? Etong deduction, alright, kailangan systematic, methodical, alright? Focus muna dito. Ito later, saka na natin po problemahin yung induction. Dito muna tayo sa deduction. Kailangan siya, systematic ang pag-aaral, methodical. Yan. Alright, so nung ginawang systematic ang pag-aaral ng deduction, ginawang methodical, ay di tsaka na-invento yung Aristotelian Logic. Yan ang takbo ng usapan natin. Alright, so all of a sudden, we have what? We have deductive reasoning or deduction. And for the first time in the history of mankind, ginawang systematic ang pag-aaral, nilagyan ng isang system and step-by-step method. And ano nangyari? Step-by-step method ng analysis and so on and so forth. Ano nangyari? Na-invento yung Aristotelian Logic. Alright? Na-invento yung Aristotelian Logic. Alright? Sometimes this is called classic logic. Yan. Sometimes this is called classic logic. Alright. Now, anong problema dyan? Well, focus on the word logic. Yan. Saan ang galing yan? Ang mga Greeks, meron silang word na logos. Alright? Logos in English literally means word. Alright? Literal translation, word. Now, for the Greeks, you use a word, alright? For the Greeks, you use a word to mean not only a thing, but also a pattern. What are we saying, alright? Pattern or form, alright? Halimbawa, when you use the word chair to refer to a thing, teka, drawing na ako ng chair. Kunyari lang, may chair somewhere yan. Alright? Kunyari lang, may chair. Kaya ang tawag ko ay chair kasi hindi siya kapareho ng form ng table. Alright? Iba yung table sa chair. Kaya ang tawag ko dito, chair, ang tawag ko dun sa isa, table. Magkaiba yun. Meron silang specific forms. Alright? Focus dyan. So, for the Greeks, you do not use a word just like you just want to use it without thinking about it. You use a word because you're aware of the form that you identify with the word. So, ang word na form sa Greek ay logoi. Logoi. Alright? Yan. Ano yung word? Logoy. Alright, tingnan mo na. Lagay natin sa yan. Alright? Ano nangyari dito? Meron tayong word logoy at ang ibig sabihin literally ano? Ang ibig sabihin literally ay form. Alright? Ang ibig sabihin yan? Form. Alright? Talaga naman mahirap magsulat din eh. Form. There you go. Okay? So, we have the word logos to mean word, and we have the word logoy to mean form. And logos and logoy are closely related in the mind of the Greek, precisely because for the Greek, it is a matter of practice to highlight the function of a word identifying some form or pattern. Sa English, hindi. Yan nga, form, pattern. Word, form, magkalayo, di ba? Malayo masyado. Pilipino, ganun din. Now, dito pumasok yung word logic. Alright? Logic. Bakit? Kasi literally, for the Greek, logic, kaya may C, di ba? As in mechanics, or physics, di ba? Or dynamics. Yung logic ay literally for the Greek, the study of form. Ayan. The study of form. Yan. So, related yan tatlo. Ano yung related? Ito. Logos, logoy, logic. And what is logic? The study of form or pattern. Ayan, yan. Now, when you write logic with a capital L, ito na ngayon ha, tandaan. When you write logic with a capital L, among academics, ang ibig sabihin natin yan, yung discipline, yung academic discipline. Alright? Yung academic discipline. Yan ang ating nire-refer when we use the term logic with a capital L. Alright? So, logic, ito. Logic, ito. Alright? Anong gusto sabihin nito? Ito. Yan. Anong gusto sabihin nito? Yan. Alright? Academic discipline that deals with, of course, obviously, the study of logic. Ayan. Alright, nasusundan na ha. So, ang interest natin, in general, forms and patterns. Alright? Tingnan ko lang ha, kung ako nasusundan ninyo. Okay, walang ibang comments na bago. Okay, so far, so good. Good morning. Ay, ang dami pala eh. Second class, ay, oo nga. Okay, sige, go. So, balik tayo din eh. Yung Aristotelian Logic, gantong style, pero hindi natin pag-aaralan lahat. Bakit? Wala lang, tinatamad ako eh. Okay. Yung Aristotelian Logic, okay, may mga halimbawa na classic examples eh. Magandang pag-aralan. Halimbawa, ito. Alright? Yung isang classic example ng pinag-aralang argument, alright? All men are mortal. Alright? Si Aristotle mismo, nagsusulat niyang yung sentence na yan eh. Socrates is a man. Alright? Therefore, Socrates is mortal. Yan. Sabi ni Aristotle, pag tiningnan mo yung mga arguments kagaya nito, mukhang may pattern eh. Alright? Mukhang may pattern. Kung ano man yung pattern na yan, sabi niya, may kinalaman siguro yan dun sa Kung ano man yung pattern, may kinalaman siguro yan dun sa nilalaman ng components. So sabi niya, para makita natin kung ano yung nilalaman, kasi parang ganito, tingnan nyo ha. Kung all men are mortal, alright, o natin na kasi nagamit na yun eh. Alright? And Socrates is a man. Alright? Then what? Alright? Socrates is a man, therefore he must be mortal. Alright? Socrates is a man, therefore he must be mortal. Alright? Anyway, sabi ni Aristotle, pag-aralan natin kung paano makikita natin yung components ng arguments. For one, dinivide niya ang any sentence, sabi niya, i-divide niya ng dalawa. Yung subject, of course, you know this, tsaka yung predicate. O, di ba, natatandaan yan. Si Aristotle yan. Alright? And then sabi niya, makita nyo rito, dalawang klase ng sentences. Bakit? Itong sentence na ito, tsaka itong sentence na ito, ay singular. Isa lamang ang subject. Alright? Single ang subject. Alright? Ano pa? May makikita yung pattern, hindi lahat ng sentences ganun. Bakit? Itong sentence na ito, iba. Bakit iba? Kasi ang subject ay a number of things. A number, alright, of things. Yan. Alright? Binigyan ng pangalan. When you have a number of things as your subject, alright, ibig sabihin, yung predicate mo nag-a-apply sa number of things, alright? Ito yung predicate mo, mortal, and then there are a number of things that are mortal, alright? Binigyan ng pangalan, ang tawag dyan, generalization. Ang tawag dyan, generalization. Yan. And generalization comes from the word genera, which is plural of the word genus, which means matalino, hindi ba? Nagbibiro lang ako. Huwag kayo maniwala dyan, ha? Lolo lang kayo. Genus means literally, alright? Genus means literally a number of things. Yan. So that a general statement or a generalization is a statement or a sentence, alright, is a sentence that is about a number of things. Yan. Okay? Now, sabi ni Aristotle, pag tinitingnan niyo yung mga patterns ng mga arguments, may makikita pa kayo. Halimbawa, sabi niya, mukhang merong 4 na klase ng generalizations. Alright? Mukhang may 4 na klase. 1, 2, 3, 4. Binigyan niya ng pangalan. At pinangalanan niya in terms of letters. Alright? Sabi niya, yung isang klase ng generalization, tawagin nating A type of generalization. Alright? A. A as in apple. Alright? Yung isa naman, tawagin nating E type of generalization. Alright? Yung isa naman, tawagin nating I. Sounds familiar, di ba? E, O, U. Alright? At yung isa namang generalization, tawagin nating O. Yan. Ngayon, magdo-drawing ako. Bakit? Ay mamaya nyo malalaman. Now, imagine a square. Doon sa isang dulo, ito yung A. Sa kabilang dulo, corner, ito yung E. Sa kabilang corner, ito yung I. Sa kabilang corner, ito yung O. Alright? Now, ano bang ibig sabihin ng A type of sentences? Yung ganitong klase. Supposing ang ating subject ay isa lang klase. Ang ating universe of discourse ay isa lamang klase. Ano yung universe of discourse natin? Halimbawa, kunyari lang ang universe of discourse natin ay marbles. So you can have the sentence, all marbles are black. Alright? All marbles are black. Oh, one kind of sentence. Yung generalization of this kind of form, ang tawag dyan, A type of sentence. Meron naman, instead ng affirmative, negative ang dating. Ano yan? Ito. All marbles are not black. O, di ba? That's another kind of sentence. Alright? Dito. Yan. Yan yung E-type of sentence. Kaya lang, may mga pagkakataon na you're talking about a number of things but not all of your universe of discourse. So, you have this kind of sentence. Ano? Some marbles are black. Alright? E di, ibig sabihin, kung merong some marbles are black, meron din namang some marbles are not black. Alright? And yan, nakita natin. All of them are about a number of things. Alright? Some marbles are not black. O, di ba? So, eto na yun. A, E, I, O type of sentences. Yan yun. Now, eto yung maganda. Sabi ni Aristotle, alam nyo ba, makikita ninyo, na pag ito ay totoo, what will happen? Ito, necessarily, remember, by necessity, necessarily true din to. Tama ba? Magkakaroon ka ng, eto na, contradiction if this is true and this is false. That will be a contradiction. It cannot be false. Why? Because the moment that becomes false, you get a contradiction. Alright? So when this is true, this is true. And notice, when this is true, necessarily, what? This is false. Alright? Sorry, necessarily, this becomes false. Tama ba? Siyempre, may necessity involved, di ba? Hindi pa yan. When this is true, necessarily, this is what? This is false. Yan. Alright? Now, eto naman, if this is true, necessarily what? Something is false. Dapat ito, hindi pala yan. Sorry. Dapat ito, false. Tama ba? Necessarily. Tama? Ayan. Or pwede mong baliktarin, pag ito ay true, alright, ito naman ang magiging false. Alright? Pag ito ay true, ito naman ang magiging false. In other words, maliwanag, may mga necessary relationships involved. At ang sinasabi ni Aristotle, yung mga ganyang relationships ang hinahanap natin sa loob ng isang argument. Alright? Pwedeng meron kang argument, kung ano man yan. Pwedeng meron kang argument, kung ano man yan. May isang generalization, may isa pang generalization, tapos may isang singular sentence, alright? Or meron kang isang generalization, tapos dalawang singular sentence, and kung ano-anong combination. But the point is, if you know what generalizations are, and if you know what singular sentences are, then maybe you can see the patterns involved. Alright? Ang hanap lang natin, we want to see what are the patterns involved with arguments such that we know which arguments are, ito na yung tanong. Alright? Tingnan mo na. So, anong hinahanap natin? Patterns. Alright? Hinahanap natin forms. Alright? So, pag pinag-aralan mo yan, yung mga kung ano-anong patterns and forms, then inevitably, we will be able to what? We will be able to say which arguments, alright? Remember, arguments, yan ang ating tinitingnan are correct and which arguments are wrong. It's like you catch a fish, remember yung ating isda? It's like you catch a fish, you measure it. All right? And how do you measure it? You come up with a standard or you come up with standards. Now, your forms, if you express them as rules, all right, let me repeat that. If your forms, you express them as your rules, then you can use the rules to measure your arguments. And so for the first time sa history ng mundo, meron tayong clear, methodical, systematic way of measuring arguments. Alright? So, ganun ka-importante yung Aristotelian logic because Aristotelian logic rules, alright, gave us what? Clear, methodical, systematic, and therefore objective ways of, alright, systematic and therefore objective ways of measuring arguments. That's very important para hindi nagpapatayan ng mga tao. Alright? Yan ang nangyari. Okay? Ay, mali pala yung aking kulang. Ay. Aristotle. Alright, Aristotelian. Ano yun? Anyway, you know what I mean, ha? Aristotelian logic. Okay, lagyan mo natin. Na-OOC ako eh, pagkamali ang spelling. Yan. Alright? So far, so good. Nasusundan? Yan. Hindi na natin pupuntahan yung details ng Aristotelian logic rules. Dito natin, ha? Hindi na natin pupuntahan yung details ng rules. What are the details? Huwag na nating pag-aralan. Bakit? Alright? Kasi ganito. Details. Ayan. Alright. Shall we study the details? No, we're not. Meron akong libro. Idinugtong ko dyan sa ating course pack. Alright? Sa ating course content, nilagay ko yung libro. Merong 2 chapter dyan tungkol sa Aristotelian logic. Bahala na kayong pag-aralan yan, pero hindi yan masyadong importante sa atin. Gusto lang nating sabihin, kayong mga taga-Ateneo, Lasal, UST, San Beda, alright? Meeting ko. Kayong mga taga-Ateneo, Lasal, UST, San Beda, kasi iba sa atin yung mga yun eh. Tayo as guardians di ba? Sila mga mere mortals. Ganito sila nangyari. Alright? Yung Aristotelian logic. Alright? Aristotelian logic ay required sa mga Catholic schools. Alright? Required. Saan? Halimbawa, sa UST. Saan pa? Sa Lasal. Saan pa? Sa Ateneo. Saan pa? San Beda. Naloko na. Ang dami. Alright? Bakit? Kasi para sa simbahan, importante yan. Bakit? Kasi yan ang ginagamit sa pag-aaral ng theology. Pag merong magpapare, kailangan magka-college. Pag nag-college, dapat alam na yung Aristotelian logic para pagdating niya sa pagpapare na formal studies, yung theology niya, mapapag-aralan niya. Alright? May problema yan. Bakit? Kasi remember, maraming components ang arguments. Alright? Anong components ng arguments? Well, you have the necessary component of the premises, remember? And then, you have the necessary component of the conclusion. one premise, one or more premises, and one and only one conclusion. Now, focus on premises. All right? You can actually classify arguments in terms of number of premises. If you classify them in terms of number of premises, then you can have, all right, then you can have one kind of argument which has only one premise, another kind of argument which has only two premises, all right, or another kind of argument which has three premises, and so on and so forth, all right. Now, yung Aristotelian logic ay ano, all right, yung Aristotelian logic ay applicable lamang doon sa mga arguments with only two premises. Ang tawag dyan sa mga arguments na yan ay syllogism. Alright, may pangalan eh. Syllogism. Binigyan niya ng special na pangalan ni Aristotle kasi nga, dyan applicable yung kanyang mga pinagsasasabi. Alright? Yan ang problema. Bakit? Kasi, paano pag ang iyong argument ay one premise lamang? O, paano kung three premises? O, paano kung napakadami? Kami nga, di ba, sabi ko sa inyo, meron akong information communication technology company. Eh, yung mga computer programs, pwedeng umabot ng milyon ang premises eh. Alright? So, hindi ganun ka-useful ang Aristotelian logic, although original siya. Alright? Napaka-importante ng Aristotelian logic sapagkat siya ang unang-unang nagpakita ng ng rules that can be used as measurement of arguments in clear, methodical, systematic, and objective manner. Pero, lang ang application din kahirap naman. Alright? Ay, sorry wala. Dito lang parang wow man, sayang naman. Alright, dito lang siya applicable Big problem. Alright? Now, from 300 years BC, panahon ni Aristotle, unfortunately for everyone, okay, sa buong mundo doon lang sa Greece nagkaroon ng ganyang systematic analysis of arguments Merong ibang attempts pero hindi naging popular Alright? Nagsimula yan 300 years BC more or less. At umabot hanggang mid 1800s. Walang pagbabago. Lalo na't nakialam ang simbahan, ayaw ng simbahang magbago So, ang haba ng panahon na yan lang ang alam natin. Noong 1860s, at yan ang topic natin next meeting, tsaka lang na-invento yung mathematical logic. Buti na lang, alright? Tsaka lang na-invento yung mathematical logic, alright? At ito ang itinuturo sa UP, alright? Yan. At pagka natuto ka niyan, yung argument na pwede mong gawin, pwede mong applyan ay pwedeng isang premise, check, pwedeng dalawang premises, check, pwedeng tatlo, check, pwedeng infinite number of premises, check, walang katapusan. Alright? Pag i-compare nyo nga yung mga taga-Ateneo, Lasal, UST, sa taga-UP, ang kanilang pwedeng applyan lang isa. Alright? Sa atin, infinite. Alright? So, yung comparison, ang kakayanan nila ay ito lamang, 1 over infinite ng UP. Alright? Get it? Kaya ang tawag natin sa kanila ay mga pipitsugin. Bakit? Ganito lang ang kanila application Pagka may nakaharap kayong taga Ateneo, Lasal, alright, UST, San Beda, pag ang alam lang nila Aristotelian logic, nagdebate kayo sa korte. Pag binigyan nyo ng argument na merong 10 premises, ano nangyayari? Mahihimatay. Pag binigyan mo ng argument na may 100 premises, ano mangyayari? Magbibikti na yan. Alright? So far, so good. Alright? So, malaking problema. But sa atin, ay hindi naman kasi natuto tayo ng mathematical logic eh. In fact, sa UP, magmula nung 1908, alright, nung 1908, kung kailan itinayo ang UP, yan na itinuturo. Alright, ang Aristotelian Logic, hindi na uso sa UP yan eh. Alright, kaya hindi kayo magtataka na ang mga taga-UP, sila talagang mahilig saan? Doon sa physics, mathematics, alright, chemistry, all those things. Sandali mali na naman ako eh. Ulitin natin. Ito. Ano ang sabi natin? Mabuti na lang at tayo ay natuto ng mathematical logic. At in fact, sabi ko nga, mula nung 1908, yan ay tinuturo sa UP. Ayan, alright? At kaya nga tayo humusay sa sciences. Kasi yung mathematical logic, compatible sa sciences. In fact, yan ang compatible saan? Sa information, communication technology. Alright? Ngayon, ito ngayon ang ating idadagdag, ha? So, kaya sa UP, ito itinuturo natin, ha? Hindi nyo kailangan pag-aralan ng Aristotelian Logic. Pwedeng for purposes of history, kagaya ng mga kwento-kwento ko. Tsaka, baka rin may mapulot kayo. Pero unahin nyo muna yung mathematical logic kasi yan ang compatible din eh. And of course, with the sciences. Now, ang logic, in general, whether Aristotelian logic or mathematical logic, may ganitong karakteristik. Whether Aristotelian logic or mathematical logic, alright? Arguments, alright? Yan. Now, whether Aristotelian logic or mathematical logic, ang logic at large ay isang science at the same time, isa ring art. Bakit? Ganito. Ang gusto nating mangyari, sukatin yung mga arguments. Diba? Juvenile fish, adult fish. In this case, correct arguments, incorrect arguments. Yun ang gusto nating mangyari. Pag ang ginagawa natin ay to establish, alright? Pag ang ating purpose ay what? Establishment of the norms, alright? Establishment of the what? Of the norms. Others, the standards with which we can measure arguments. Ang ibig sabihin yan, you're doing the science of logic. Yan. You're doing the science of logic. Yun ang ibig sabihin yan. Now, ano yung art of logic? Parang ganito. Meron kayong bisikleta, yung norms. But it does not follow that meron kang bisikleta, alam mo kung paano gamitin. Alright? So, ito yung catch. Pag ang iyong interest ay development of the skills. Remember, pag pinana kayo, hindi naman all of a sudden marunong kayo mag-painting eh. Pag pinanganak kayo, hindi naman all of a sudden marunong kayong kumanta. Or marunong kayong sumayaw. Although in my case, all my lifetime, nag-aaral ako magsayaw, hindi ako matuto. Pag ang iyong importante sa iyo ay skill development ng ng application. Alright? Application or use of the norms, di ang ginagawa mo ay art. Alright? So, merong use yung norm. Merong gamit yung bisikleta. Magde-develop ka ng skill para magamit mo yung bisikleta, ika nga. Ang tawag dyan, the art of logic. Yan. So, meron kang science of logic, meron kang art of logic. Ayan. Now, nasa sa inyo yan kung anong interest ninyo. Kung kayo ay maglo-lawyer, ay di ang importante siguro ay art of logic. Alright? O kung kayo ay magpupunta sa information technology and physics and mathematics, ay importante ay yung science of logic. Pero, inevitably, siyempre, we still maintain that yung science of logic at saka art of logic, related yan eh. Pero sa ako na ipaliwanag. Ano? Pag pag-uusapan natin artificial intelligence, related yan, dalawa na yan. Alright? Okay, so ayos, ang buto-buto. Live ulit tayo, di ba? Kahit paano, may napulot sana kayo ha, kahit madaldal ako. Ano yung take away natin? One, natutunan nyo kung ano yung role ng contradiction sa buhay nyo. Actually, for some people, they see contradictions in life, parang they feel so bad about it. Pero sa atin, we feel so positive about it because there are challenges to become innovative and inventive. Kagaya nga yung kinwento ko kay Einstein. Marami pa tayong ibang kwento. Alright? Tungkol dyan sa mga contradictions ng buhay. Pero bottom line, dapat maisipan ninyo. Pag dami ng contradictions, pag taas ng unreliability, hindi maaasahan ng inyong prediction. Si Erap bilang presidente, ganito ang ugali. Ikaw lamang at ikaw lamang ang mahal ko, sinabi dun sa isang babae. Tapos, yung sumunod, ikaw lamang at ikaw lamang mahal ko, pangalawang babae. Tapos, ikaw lamang at ikaw lamang mahal ko, pangatlo. And so, kadami. Anong nangyari? Nasanay sa contradiction sa buhay. Pagka nasanay ka sa contradiction sa buhay, ano mangyari? Ay di puno na ng contradiction na isipan mo, hindi mo pinapansin. Wala kang attempt to make your world coherent. Basta ang paniwala mo, ako'y sugo ng Diyos. Alright? Ay ano nangyari? Ay nung presidente na siya, sabi niya, ay maniwala kayo sa akin, take it from me. Alright? Patayin niyo ako kung hindi totoo. Dito tatakbo ang ating ekonomiya. Alright? Magtiwala kayo sa akin. Sumunod na lamang kayo, wag na kayong mag-complain. Ay dito pumunta sa kabila ang ekonomiya. Na disgrasya, nagka-EDSA 2 at inabot sa kulungan. Alright? Kaya lang, ay sira din ang ulo na rin mga Pilipino, ginawa pang mayor uli, pinakawalan na, ginawang mayor pa. Alright, naku, naubos na yung oras ninyo, naloko na. Alright, pasensya na kayo ha, sobrang daldal uli. Ako ay, siyempre, masaya ako kasi mas gusto ko talaga itong live eh, kaya lang hindi kayo masyadong nag-participate eh. Alright, di ba, babasahin ko yan ha, itong inyong mga comments. At saka din sa ating, dito sa ating board, kung may comments kayo, ilagay ninyo kahit saan dyan, matatanggap ko yan, babasahin ko ha. Alright, pasensya na. Ang inyong teacher talaga ay madaldal ngayon. Masaya kasi kayo lang ang kausap mo sa buhay ko ngayon eh. Alright, okay, magandang umaga po, Fishman.